Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. And once again on this video we've got two stories and both of them have updates. Now let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user IndependentFoot8485. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my mother to my wedding after she invited father-in-law? My fiancée, Sarah, 29 female, and me, 34 male, are getting married in 2 weeks after 13 years of friendship and 4 years of dating. She's fantastic and our relationship has been so good for both of us. Planning the wedding has been uncomplicated and fun. We included my mother a lot. For example, Sarah took her dress shopping. The reason is that Sarah has always had a good relationship with my parents, and it grew much closer over the past year after her mother died. They kind of see her as another child, and I know that my fiancé appreciates that immensely. As for her father, she went no contact when she was 15, and even before, he hadn't played an important role in her life. His behavior was one cause of her depression and low self-esteem. It took her years to heal. She's happy with the way things are now. I never met the man, so neither of us considered inviting him to the wedding. My mother, however, won't understand why we won't invite him. My mom is a retired psychologist. She's had some experience with children-parent reunification, and she thinks Sarah needs that, even more after Sarah's mom's death. Sarah and I both have shut my mom down plenty of times. We both made it clear that this man was not to know anything about Sarah's life, nor would he be welcomed anywhere near the wedding. For a while, my mom shut up. My mom doesn't know Sarah's father. Then, the other night we had dinner with my family and my mom had an announcement. Apparently, she looked Sarah's father up and went to see him. Then, she invited him to our wedding. She seemed so pleased. My family was appalled and angry. They all know what has happened. Sarah somehow remained calm and told mom how inappropriate that was. How mom hurt her terribly by stepping over the one boundary she ever had. How Sarah had lost all her trust in mom after this. I then uninvited my mom and we left. Sarah only broke down at home. My mother's also been inconsolable since and called me dozens of times, but I haven't picked up yet. Sarah feels unsafe to have the wedding if there was a chance that her father might show up. We might just cancel the whole thing. My father, who's not condoning any of my mother's actions, thinks I should talk to my mom and hear her out. My siblings agree that uninviting her was too drastic. I just see the distress my mother had caused my fiancé and get angry all over again. So, am I the a-hole for sticking to our decision? Well, OP, of course you're not the a-hole. You stood up for your future wife. That's what you're supposed to do when these kind of things happen. Sarah is absolutely right to have lost trust in your mom. She went behind her back and did the one thing that Sarah didn't want, and your mom knew, which in my opinion makes it even worse. I mean, if she didn't know and she did it anyways, it would still suck because she went and did something that nobody asked her to do, but in this case, yeah, even worse. And the thing about trust is that it takes a long time to build and you can break it in half a second. So now I think your mom needs to apologize and start working on trying to rebuild that trust if she can. However, I wouldn't put any pressure on you or Sarah to invite your mom back to the wedding. At least not until Sarah is okay with it. Now regarding your wedding and your father-in-law, what he knows is where it's gonna be and the date. So if you can't change the venue, can you change the date? I'd explore that path to see if I can get a win-win situation. And what do you guys think about all of this? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see their judgments. Strong Blueberry 5432 says, not the a-hole. Cancel the wedding and go and elope instead. That kind of betrayal would be enough for me to consider going no contact with my mom. It wasn't just a small mistake or an oversight. It was a deliberate action to trample boundaries and to push an agenda you had made very clear you and your fiancé had no desire to pursue. As a retired psychologist, your mother should have known better than anyone just how damaging the actions she chose would be to your fiancé and to any existing relationship between the both of you and herself. Anupu says, I wonder what people expect from stunts like this. And even if your mom is a psychologist, is she your fiance's psychologist? What kind of psychologist would do this to a patient? So honestly, not the a-hole. Maybe hear her out, I would with my mom, but I'd stick to the uninvitation if she thinks she can wreak havoc knowingly, and tell her that she can be glad to just be uninvited from your wedding and not your whole life. Horrible behavior right there. And Opie responds, I suppose she expected gratitude and maybe that having a second parent would help Sarah grieve her mom better. She often thinks she knows what's best for her children. She, however, never trampled boundaries to this extent before. Until now, it's been limited to advice and recommendations. I don't know how to deal with all of it. Hello, I must be going 9 says, not the a-hole. If your wife feels unsafe around your mom, then you would not be the a-hole if you kept your mom from the wedding. Your mom refused to listen and believe everyone telling her to mind her business because she thought she knew better. Well, she effed around and found out. Only it was your fiancé who was hurt the most. Trust is hard to mend once broken. If you keep the wedding date, it's important to make sure the dad doesn't show. Make your mom, with your dad for insurance, go back and tell him he isn't welcome. That if he shows up anywhere near the wedding, then the authorities will be called. Assign people at the wedding to keep watch for him and make sure he leaves. It would be a shame to call off the wedding, but if neither of you would enjoy it because she'd be so on edge about her dad knowing and showing up, then what's the point? And Opie responds, those are some really good points, especially with the guards nearby. I'll ask my fiancé what she thinks. I'm hurting for her. It's brought back so many old issues for her and there is nothing I can do. Additional information from Opie's comments. Sarah believes that her father doesn't deserve to know about her life since he contributed nothing to her well-being. Him not knowing things about her is one of the biggest worries she has. She said she feels violated and exposed. I don't think I can understand her feelings. All I know is that she's in a lot of pain. As others suggested, I might bring up the possibility of hiring security. I am tempted to send the invoice to my mom though. Rescheduling and relocating were our first instincts. Both of them suck since the date and venue, the restaurant of Sarah's brother-in-law, carry meaning. I worry that the whole wedding, no matter how we proceed, will be tainted by my mother's actions. And yes, I'm worried about her father coming back too. He's a very sick old man, apparently, so I wonder if he might look for a chance to set things right before it's too late. And if he might see this as his opening. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Sarah has said once that maybe my mother doesn't realize how much situations might change with age. She said that she'd been open to reconciliation when she was younger, but that it's too late now. Still, no excuse in my opinion. Sarah also told me that her family was already torn apart by her father's actions, so there shouldn't be a second one. We both hope to find a good way forward. As a first step, I'm meeting my father later tonight. We will see how it goes. And finally, I know that I should have pulled her out of the situation first, before unilaterally deciding to uninvite my mother, for which I apologized. Sarah isn't mad. She might have done the same thing. Opie's edit. Thank you for all your advice and perspective. It's truly heartbreaking how many of you have estranged relatives and can relate to this. I'm sorry. I met my dad earlier. He's really sorry for what my mom did and how he'd pushed me to listen to her at first. I told him that Sarah was the person hurt by this and that it was really up to her. Dad did offer to cover additional costs we might have now. Both siblings called individually to apologize to Sarah as well. I don't know what to make of it just now. It's a good start, I think. Haven't talked to mom though. Also, Sarah's brother-in-law had a good idea regarding the wedding. We might do it earlier. That way, we'd at least keep the venue. We're still figuring details out, but it might actually work. There is a lot going on right now. We'll post an update when things settle. Sarah sends her thanks. Alright, well, the community agrees Opie was not the a-hole for standing up for Sarah, and that his mom needed to know better. They also had some suggestions regarding the wedding date, and apparently something came out of that, as Opie has told us. So now it's time that we move on to the update, but of course I gotta show you another playlist like this one right here, only stories with updates. Now let's move on to the update. First, thanks for all the helpful comments, insights, and awards. We were very overwhelmed and grateful, and thanks to the mods for helping with this update. I've never had a post get this much attention and didn't know how to do this. The biggest thing is, we are married. In the end, my wife's sister and brother-in-law saved the day. Originally, the wedding was on the 18th at brother-in-law's restaurant. That was the date and place where we went from friends to dating 5 years ago. On the day of the original post, Sarah went to see her sister. They suggested having the wedding a week earlier, on the 11th. It felt like the best option. Brother-in-law was willing to do the work because Sarah is like a sister to him. His team and he got a generous tip from my dad. So Sarah, sister-in-law, brother-in-law and I told all the guests, except my family, of the date change. Sarah didn't want to tell people why. Amazingly, everyone made it work except for 3 people. My family was told the morning of the wedding just to make sure Sarah's father would not have time to come to the wedding, as he lives 15 hours away from us. My family didn't complain because they knew that they messed up. It was all a bit stressful, but Sarah felt like a spy on a mission and had fun with it. I was glad to see her get excited again, and there was no sign of her father at the wedding, so I guess Mom finally listened. In the week before the wedding, we met my family to talk several times. These were long talks. Why my mom did it? She just thought she knew better. No excuse other than arrogance. They all apologized, even my mom, and from what we could tell, it was genuine. I suppose my initial uninvite made her take a look at her actions and blew some sense into her. Sarah said one family torn apart by her father's actions was enough. She insisted that they were invited, so that was that. However, we made it clear that contact with her father would be punished much harder in the future, especially when it comes to children. It's forgiven, but not forgotten, I guess. As to what Sarah's father found out from my mom, apparently not much. He knew a bunch already, from Sarah's eldest brother. Mom filled in the gaps. The brother is the only one of Sarah's siblings that was in touch with their father. Sarah's brother was already on thin ice before that for many different reasons. And yes, we let him attend the wedding, mostly because we didn't want more drama, but we'll tackle that when Sarah feels ready to do so. We did have a honeymoon to get to first. All in all, I think we are fine. Sarah is very hurt still, more so by her brother's actions now. With my family, we'll work on it. The imminent threat is dealt with, now we start fixing the damage. Through it all, my wife was amazingly calm and reflected. It made me much more grateful that I get to be with her. Well, OP, I'm gonna call this a positive update. As you said, the main threat is dealt with, you guys are married, and everybody pulled through for you, except for those 3 people who couldn't make it work, but hey, that happens. And hopefully your mom is able to rebuild her trust with Sarah, but I guess we'll see how it goes on that one. Thank you so much for sharing, OP, and congratulations on the wedding, all the best in the future. Take care. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user ThrowAwayInfinity22. Am I the a-hole for leaving my friend at a party because she insulted me? Last weekend, me, 21 male, and my best woman friend, 21 female Tina, went to a party. Tina and I have been friends since our freshman year, and we've become best friends. At the party, Tina got pretty hammered, not completely trashed, but she was pretty drunk. We were sitting down and talking to a couple of our mutual friends, and somehow we got on the topic of dating. One of our friends asked us why Tina and I never got together since we're such good friends. Without missing a beat, Tina says, and I quote, "Ugh, ew, effing no." That took me and everyone a little by surprise. It wasn't even a, "no, he's like my brother" kind of way. This was of pure disgust, like I was repulsive. I said, "Well, F you too." Kind of in a joking way, but actually serious. I think she realized what she said and tried to walk it back. "He's just like my friend. I don't even want to think about it." No one really bought it, but I guess we all laughed it off. I was pretty insulted, so I just decided to leave. The only problem was that I drove us to the party and I was Tina's ride back. An hour later, Tina calls me and says, "Thanks for leaving her." I say, "Thanks for calling me ugly." She said that I was an a-hole for leaving her at the party and having to find another way home. She told me to get over myself and that she was just kidding. I just hung up. Not gonna lie, I've been hitting the gym hard since then, and Tina hasn't really talked to me since, and I don't really want to anyway. I don't have feelings for Tina, but her words were like a slap in the face, especially since I don't have much success in the dating department. I've been thinking that maybe I just got in my feelings too much and maybe I overreacted. So Reddit, did I overreact? Am I the a-hole for leaving Tina at the party? Well, OP, I'm a little bit torn. I'm in between everybody sucks here and not the a-hole. I'm sure that what Tina said and how she said it hurt your feelings, and for that she's the a-hole. I wasn't there, so reading that tone is a little bit difficult. But leaving her at the party because your feelings were hurt, I'm not so sure about that. There's a saying in my country that goes something like, being courteous doesn't take away courage. Which in this situation I would take to mean that you don't have to like Tina anymore and she doesn't have to be your friend. But you were her ride, and in my understanding, that means you go to and from the party together. However, at this party you mentioned that there were other friends that you guys had in common, so maybe they could have kept an eye on her or even taken her home later. And this is why I'm torn on this. But either way, I don't think you're the a-hole, OP. And what do you guys think? What is your judgment of this situation? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Remis Side says, not the a-hole. I'm a woman. I wouldn't want to be around someone who said that about me in that tone either. People are missing that OP doesn't want to date Tina. He's upset about how Tina said it and how needlessly vehement she was about it. Also, it's not his responsibility to babysit Tina just because she's a woman and made the adult choice to get drunk. Women aren't infants and capable of making decisions, and just because she made the decision to drink as a woman doesn't obligate OP to stick around all night after she insulted him. Phantom Regret says, not the a-hole. Regardless of whether or not she finds you attractive, she should still show the common decency of not rudely insulting you, unless she's paying you. The ride was a favor based on friendship. If she's going to blatantly insult you like that, she doesn't understand the concept of friendship or she's just a jerk. Either way, she shouldn't have expected a ride back after she said that. All these comments talking about how she's drunk, therefore absolved of all responsibility for her rude behavior are dumb. You are not her chaperone. She's a grown woman responsible for her own well-being. OP literally said they were talking to a group of mutual friends, so her safety isn't a concern because she's not alone at the party. She just doesn't want to pay for an Uber or ask someone else for a favor. Diggisher Girl says, no a-holes here. She reacted in the moment and honestly, it sounds like poor form, but as a guy-girl bestie set in high school, anytime someone asked us that question, his response was, I'd never F that up. And mine was, ew. Both of us knew what the other meant. We couldn't think of anything worse than risking our friendship over hormones, and that was just how we phrased ourselves back then. I'm really sorry your bestie upset you with her words, but when she's sober, I strongly recommend you ask her about her intent. I'd hate for you to lose a solid friendship over a misunderstanding. Additional information from OP. I can accept the judgment of you're the a-hole for not driving her home. My friends are my friends because I value them in my life and vice versa. But like I said, I don't want to date her. It's just the way she said it. I've seen her give the "he's like my brother" routine plenty of times before, and she's always said it in a nice way. This wasn't even her being annoyed, it was with total revulsion. I wasn't drunk, so it wasn't even a case of me not hearing her right. It was like I was subhuman or something. There was no kidding or warmth, no nothing other than pure revulsion. I don't expect all the women around me to be attracted to me, but my F you too was in response to her comment. Plus, our friends didn't exactly react like it was a joke either. Upon reflection, I did get super pissed off and got vindictive. I thought me working out was a healthy way to process my anger, but maybe it isn't all that healthy when it's done out of rage. There have also been good points brought up about my self-esteem. It's always been kinda low, and I've always dealt with it by hiding it or getting pissed off as I did here. I think I'm going to see my school counselor on Monday. Thank you for opening my eyes. Alright, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. And apparently some of the comments that brought up OP's self-esteem really hit a point there because he's going to do something about it. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Hello everyone, I've received a few requests asking for an update on my situation, and I did promise one, so here I am. To begin with, I feel bad for leaving her at the party. I should not have done that. Like everyone here said, I should have just offered her a ride, found her another ride, or tell her I was leaving. I was so embarrassed and angry that I just didn't want to be around her anymore, so I left quietly. Thanks to a kind redditor, I believe I may have some self-esteem and anger issues I need to work out. So I have a scheduled meeting with my campus counselor and maybe get professional therapy after that. Now, on Friday afternoon, I texted my friend Tina to talk so we can finally clear the air. She agreed and we met at her dorm. I apologized for leaving her at the party and not telling her I was leaving, which I think is fair. She said that she is still pretty mad about me leaving her in an unsafe situation when she was drunk. I told her I was upset at what I felt was her perceived revulsion. She apologized and said that she shouldn't have made me feel so unattractive. She said that because I'm like her brother, she would never find me attractive, but that doesn't mean other girls don't. I told her I don't care if she did find me attractive, I was just upset with her tone. She said she understood. After I left, one of our friends told her that she kinda went overboard with it and she really regretted it how she said it. She apologized again and I apologized again for leaving her. We admitted that we were not super happy with each other at the moment and are going to take some time apart to sort out our feelings, not romantic, toward each other. If we run into each other, we're not gonna be awkward and we might even text, but no hanging out like we were before. And that's it. Not a particularly happy update, but I guess it's better than nothing, right? Thanks to all the Redditors who helped me through this little mini saga. I guess I'll see you all in therapy. Well, OP, you say it's not a happy ending, but I think it's a positive one. At least the air has been cleared. You both apologized to each other for what you guys think you did wrong, and now it's time to move forward. Who knows, maybe you do get to be friends in the future after all. In the meantime, take care of yourself, OP, and thank you so much for sharing. All the best in the future. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.